Welcome to another video, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about the Christ consciousness and what is it exactly. I don't think I can tell you how to achieve it because I think that is a personal journey and a personal undertaking of each person who sees this, as well as whoever you may share it with. I will tell you that it is quite jarring. Christ consciousness is essentially you are here in the present, in this moment of time, and you are taken back in your mind's eye to the days of Christ, probably at the time that he was being handed over, or maybe even the time when he pulled together the 12 disciples, walked and talked with people and healed, fed people, did all the miracles. If you believe anything about him and his journey in this world, you will be taken back to those moments, and the epiphany that arises is that there was no other way for it to end but the way that it did. Even attempting to put yourself in his shoes can cause your heart to explode. It is that serious. It is that jarring. It is that much of an emotional journey. Just think of the world as you know it today, and please take note of the images that I have on reel. Think of what you know, of all the wars, from however far back you can think. Korean War, Vietnam, World War I, World War II, conflicts over the last 20, 30 years, even before that, Civil War, Spanish War, all these different wars. How many lives do you think have been lost? How many countless lives have been lost? Over what exactly? The lack of Christ consciousness. That's pretty much what it comes down to. The realization that without that consciousness is the reason we have war. It's the reason the world is as it is today. Now, unfortunately, as I see, a great many will never achieve this Christ consciousness. Why do I say that? It takes a certain amount of introspection, not just on self, but contemplating on the things of the world, the nature of things, relationships, how they are, taking people into account in general. It is basically you saying to yourself, wow, can I be better and make people around me better? What would it take? Can I help when I see someone needs help, wherever that may be? If it is within my capacity, and what would it take to do that on a consistent basis? Having a Christ consciousness, that's what it would take. Just for a moment, imagine yourself living in one of these war-torn cities, ravaged by missiles, machine gun fire, heavy artillery, mortar shells. Imagine the hate you would harbor towards those responsible. How do you send your children to school? Do you even have a place to live? College? Forget about it. What college? Where? How? Fancy cars? On what roads? From what you can see, this place is only, you could only traverse it on foot. That's how bad it is for some places. Now you might sit over here in the West and say to yourself, well, thank God it's not that bad here, but Unfortunately, you don't have the Christ consciousness to have empathy for these people and the situations that they're in, regardless of their race. It's not really relevant. These are just, people. I don't think they asked to be in this condition. And then you could say, oh, well, yeah, it is God's doing. I don't know. Everything is within the control and power of the Creator. But you do have choices that you can make, do you not? Right? And that young man with that helmet is right. War is hell. You have choices you can make as an individual. We all do. Once we come of age, some people choose to drink and drive, cheat death. Others choose to drink and drive. They're not so lucky. And even if they are, somebody else is not so lucky. So just chalking it up to, well, God's in control and, that's kind of being lazy. The lack of Christ consciousness is what causes exactly what you're seeing on the screen. And these are not the worst images. I mean, the images I really wanted to put up were way worse. And I was like, I don't know. I don't want you leaving the video just sunken and destroyed and, in a place of being distraught. That's not really my intent. But I thought I would show it to you because if you're in the comfort of your home somewhere in the West, or in the Western civilized world, or regardless of where it is, you're not living in some war-torn city where you don't know where your next meal is coming from. You have to fight for aid from whatever country is willing to throw you a few bucks at the expense of the government, obviously, which will be probably under their thumb for the next 20 to 30 years because of it. If that is not your current existence, then you have no idea what it's like. But having that Christ consciousness would allow you to. If you so dared. I mean, obviously it's not for everybody. As I said, reaching it, that's a personal journey. It took me years to get there. And just having a moment of it, just a moment of realization. When you watch those movies, you see the person on screen and they take a shot that looks like it goes into the person's eye, right? The camera like literally shoots back into the past, but further than this person has been alive, obviously. Like this person travels back in time in their mind, like they're awake, but that subconscious is able to traverse centuries, millennia almost, and put you in a spot where you can actually be literally a fly on the wall or take over a person and just literally be there in that moment and say to yourself, wow, like if I was in the same situation, the outcome would have been the same. And even presently putting yourself in that same Christ consciousness space would lead to the exact same outcome. Why? There are people who profit heavily from war. I see people post about Biden all the time, especially on like YouTube, saying all these positive things. Biden is a warmonger. That's what he is. Just like Obama, just like Clinton, a few others before him. They're warmongers. These people have no problem of seeing people die en masse. None at all. Their heart doesn't go out to them. They don't feel anything for them. Because if they did, they would be doing their utmost to broker peace as opposed to supplying money for missiles and planes and bombs. They would be doing the opposite, but they're not. And they might say, what does this war really have to do with me? It doesn't really have anything to do with me. That's over there. That is true. But these are people losing their lives. Now you might say it's up to the Most High, and that is true. in a certain aspect. But then again, as I said, everybody has a choice. People can choose not to go to war. Why don't they? A lack of Christ consciousness. If your own people have to suffer by the millions, we have to have mass graves for them, infrastructure damaged in the billions, have no money to rebuild. You don't even have any natural resources to talk about that, probably be able to make some money back in good time to have your country running well again in the future. If you're out there just trying to survive and then this happens, how do you think that affects you, your mental health, your family, all the losses you suffer? It can't be good. But that's what having that Christ consciousness allows. Not just to traverse millennia to go back in time and see how that outcome was inevitable, but even coming back to the current time and seeing if you could embody that. If you could, the outcome would be the same, because there is no one in power that wants to see a person with that kind of power draw people unto them just out of love, kindness, and trying to have people live decently. The powers that be don't want to see that. Just think about it for a moment. Think about current situations, everything you hear in the news, past situations. They don't. People talk about the migrant crisis and all these things. Yeah, these are pretty bad, but again, even if you wanted to bring them in and say, have them work on farms or whatever it is, people say, the liberals say, oh, jobs Americans don't want. Alright, but the economy is bad and Americans aren't doing that well. Overall, most people are still living paycheck to paycheck. Why is that? Because corporations don't give a shit about you. At the end of the day, they don't. As soon as you drop, somebody else will be there to replace you, believe it or not. Anyways, I don't want to make this video too long. It's already feeling heavy on me just talking about it, but that is it in a nutshell. And as I said, getting to that Christ consciousness is a journey, but if you do get there, trust me, it's just the experience. You will feel like your heart is going to explode inside of your chest. You will feel like you want, not like you want, but maybe like your heart will explode. Just experiencing it in a sort of VR first person player kind of role. And it's happened to me. And it took my breath away. But I am hopeful that some will achieve it and, probably go forward and do great things in the world. I'm still hopeful. I mean, history tends to prove me wrong in the sense that many will, not get that far, but hey, as long as there's hope. Anyways, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the content, share the content, and I'll see you next time.